And welcome back to coverage for Wheelspin's Rolex 24 at Daytona 2011 updates. This is the 2 p.m. update for the race, and ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of racing that stories and legends are made of. Before we jump into that, we're going to go over the standings real quick. First up, DP class. Top of the list, Scott Dixon for Chip Ganassi Racing, followed by Joao Barbosa, Action Express. Number 3, Martin Brundle, United Autosports. Number 4, Scott Pruitt, Chip Ganassi. And finally, Max Angelelli. Can't read.
Yeah.
We're late in the hours. I can't read anymore. Anyway, he's number 5, SunTrust Racing. GT class, number 1, Andy Lally for TRG. They are still in it at this point in the race. Second is Bryce Miller for Paul Miller Racing. Number 3, Joe Foster, Dempsey Racing. They're doing pretty well at this point as well. They've lost a little bit. Number 4, Marco Holzer for Magnus Racing. There's a name we haven't really seen in the top 5 at all yet this race, so we're seeing some shakeups here. And rounding out the top 5, Mark Lieb for Brumos Racing, another name that we haven't really seen much of this whole race in the top 5. As we said, the race is really starting to get real at this point. We are less than 2 hours away. At this point, we're about 90 minutes from the finish. And
we're sitting under a caution, which is something that a lot of these drivers needed.
Yeah, the caution is very welcomed, especially for teams like TRG having gearbox problems that, you know, they're just trying to stretch these components just to the finish, and it's going to be down to the wire if they can even make it. We already just saw the, was it the Flying Lizard, I think, number 90 car?
Mm-hmm.
That one just caught fire and went off the track. Looked like it could have been maybe... Okay, my mistake. Couldn't really tell exactly what the cause of that fire was. From the rear view, looked like fire around the drive shaft or the axles there. Smoke coming out of both wheel wells, and maybe possibly they burned up the brakes or gearbox failure, something like that. Not really sure exactly what the cause of that was, but man, a lot of stuff going on. Let's see what else. Oh,
some are saying it's an oil fire actually already.
Okay, all right. Just a quick look at the numbers here. It's spread out a little bit, but it was just a few minutes ago. We were looking at the top 3 on the field being within a half second of each other. In some cases, as much as like 0.2 of a second within time for each other, and lap speeds within fractions of a mile an hour of each other for that top 3. Just really tight, dense traffic up in the front of the pack, and they're just really pushing it at this point. They got to make that final stint, and it's a race to the podium at this hour in the race.
Well, and right now it's getting even crazier because we're under caution. This is the caution that Scott Pruitt needed for the 0-1 car with Chip Ganassi. This is the caution that Martin Brundle needed for United Autosports for the 23 car. And you know, this is what's going to make the race here. The top 4 guys right now are on the same lead lap in DP. So this is going to be really important to see what's going to happen here at the end. And Scott Pruitt right now just set a fast best lap speed of 126.971, which is the fastest.
126.
Yeah, the fastest after Jörg Bergmeister's 127.627 yesterday.
Yeah.
So you know the thing is that you know he is pushing it. A lot of people are pushing their cars right now, and they're trying to get as much as they can out of them. And now it comes down to, like Roger said earlier on the last broadcast, or the last full broadcast, that now that the engines, they didn't have time to warm up, what's going to happen to them? Mm-hmm. You know, we've seen some brake issues. We've seen some engine issues. We've seen even suspension issues.
Yeah, and the chat room is reporting that Flying Lizard problem with the fire that we just reported on a second ago, possibly an engine failure. The engine itself has expired, and the parts started coming out of the car, and so that could be a contributing factor to that oil fire, is that the engine itself has just been worn out at this point in the race.
Yeah, and timing is right in the chat room. Max Angelelli with SunTrust Racing will try and get that get back on the lead lap because it's very important, obviously.
Right, SunTrust Racing is sitting at 5th at the moment. Max Angelelli, as we reported, is still sitting there, but as the chat room was saying, keep an eye on that after we go green again when that caution clears out. Could see some moves being made by SunTrust.
Yeah, this is getting good. This is where some of the the most difficult racing happens because these guys are tired, they're worn out.
But they can taste the end of the race, and they're really just pushing for that. And
Mark
it's a delicate
got
balance.
Out of the United Autosport car.
And it's a delicate balance between making sure that you can finish the race, but also trying to get a good position and hopefully podium for these guys who are right at the front of the pack. They got to make sure that car can last and maintain that position, but they don't want to give up any ground to anybody else who might be a little bit better mechanically at this point in the race and could overtake them and grab a position they're seeking.
It's very
late
true
in the game. So. And we're seeing some stuff fail, seeing some excitement. We're also seeing some serious racing out there as these guys are vying for those top spots.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, Mark Blundell got out of the United Autosports car, and he was saying how he's out of shape. Now this is a former Formula One driver and sports car racer and Indy racer as well, but he was kart racer, and he was saying that he's out of shape now. He said, but still, it's still there. It's still, he hasn't really done a lot of racing in the last decade or so, really. But now he's getting back into it, and he's like, I feel it. It's still there, but we got to be competitive, and it says a lot, for him because he hasn't done this in a while, and now he's back into it, and he's still making things happen. So
absolutely. So that's all we have for this 2 p.m. update. Be sure to join us again at 2:30 as we start our final coverage segment, final laps, and push to the end of the 2011 Rolex 24 at Daytona. Again, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time until the end of the race, and we'll have some final thoughts and coverage after the end of the race. Be sure to go to wheelspin.tv/Rolex24 for all of the coverage details, including looking at listening to the recordings from earlier updates throughout the full 24 hours as we've been covering the play-by-plays on this race. You'll be able to get all of those from that spot as well as the schedule. Again, wheelspin.tv/Rolex24. Chat room at wheelspin.tv/chat. Great stuff going on in there. And don't forget to send us emails to racing@wheelspin.tv. For Wheelspin, I'm Christian Conover, joined by Josh Lewis, and we will see you back here in just about 22 minutes for our final coverage of this event.
Later on.